Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the Aurora's Dawn. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was quiet except for the gentle hum of the engines. It was another normal day in space, or so he thought. The communication. Officer Lieutenant Sarah Miller looked up from her station. Her face was worried. "Captain, we're getting a message. It's coded and marked as urgent." Jake moved to her station. "Where's it coming from?" "Zephyrian space, sir." "Duh." "The signal is weak, but it's definitely from Ambassador Kira Veltar." Jake knew that name well. The Zephyrians had been friends with humans for over 20 years. Were good people, peaceful, and kind. Ambassador Veltar had visited Earth many times. She always brought gifts and spoke of friendship between their peoples. "Put it through," Jake said. The main screen flickered to life. Ambassador Veltar appeared, but something was wrong. Her usually bright green scales looked dull. Her large eyes were filled with fear. Behind her, Jake could see smoke and flashing. "Lights. Captain Morrison," she said, her voice shaking. "I pray this message reaches you. We need help. Desperate help." Jake felt his stomach drop. The Zephyrians never asked for help. They were proud but gentle people who solved problems with words. Not Weapons Commander Lisa Brooks, Jake's second-in-command, stepped closer to the screen. She was a smart officer who had served with Jake for 5 years. "Ambassador, what's happening?" Veltar looked around nervously before speaking. "The Carthax have come. They said they wanted to talk about trade routes. We welcomed them as we welcome all visitors. But they lied. They came to destroy us." The image shook as explosions sounded in the distance. Veltar grabbed the edge of her desk to steady herself. "They attacked our colonies without warning. 47 of our worlds are gone. Billions of our people are dead. They kill everyone, children, elderly, even those who surrender." Jake's hands formed fists. He had heard of the Carthax. They were a war-loving people who took what they wanted by force. But he never thought they would attack the peaceful Zephyrians. "How many ships do they have?" Commander Brooks asked. "2. Many," Veltar replied. "Our scouts report over 3,000 vessels. Their weapons cut through our shields like they are made of paper. Our defensive fleets cannot stop them." Lieutenant Miller was recording everything. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls, making sure every word was saved. "We tried to fight," Veltar continued. "But we are not warriors. We build cities and grow food and explore space. We make art and music. We have never learned to make war like they do." Another explosion shook the room where Veltar sat. Dust fell from the ceiling. Someone was shouting in the background. "They are coming here now," she said. "To our capital world, our home for 10,000 years. They will destroy it like all the others." Jake wanted to help, but the Aurora's Dawn was just one ship. It was fast and had good weapons, but it could not fight 3,000 enemy vessels. "What about the other species in your area?" he asked. "Can't they help?" Veltar shook her head sadly. "The Mentari are too far away. The Silicoids do not fight wars. The Aquarians have only small ships. We are alone." The image flickered as the signal grew weaker. Time was running out. "We have been your friends for 20 years, Veltar said. We have traded with you. We have shared our knowledge. We've never asked for anything in return. But now we beg you." She leaned closer to the camera. Her voice became stronger, more desperate. "Humans are the only people we know who understand war. You have fought among yourselves for thousands of years. You know how to build weapons that kill. You know how to plan battles. You know how to win." Jake looked at his crew. Every person on the bridge was listening. Some looked angry. Others looked sad. All of them looked ready to fight. "We do not ask you to die for us," Veltar said. "But if you can help us, please do. We have children hiding in caves. We have families separated by war. We have lost so much already." The screen showed something that made everyone gasp. Through the window behind Veltar, they could see ships in the sky, big dark ships with red lights. The Carthax fleet had arrived. "They are here," Veltar whispered. "I must go. If you can help us, please hurry. If not, remember us as friends who asked too much." Just before the signal ended, the screen showed something terrible. A beam of red light came down from the sky. It hit a building in the distance. The building simply disappeared. Then another beam, and another. The city was being destroyed from space. The screen went black. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Jake stared at the empty screen. His crew waited for his orders. "Sir?" Lieutenant Miller asked quietly. "What do we do?" Jake thought about the Zephyrians he had met. They were good people who had never hurt anyone. They had helped humans learn about space travel. They had shared their medicine and their food. They had been true friends. "A set course for Earth," Jake said. "Maximum speed, Earth, sir," Commander Brooks asked. "The ambassador was right," Jake replied. "Humans know about war. And it's time to remind the galaxy what happens when someone hurts our friends." As the Aurora's dawn turned toward Earth, Jake sent a message to Fleet Command. It was short and simple. "The Zephyrians need us. Prepare for war." The ship jumped to hyperspace, racing toward home. Behind them, the Zephyrian worlds burned. Help was coming. Human help. And when humans went to war, they brought everything they had. Admiral Frank Carter walked into the big meeting room in Geneva. The room had a long table with chairs around it. On the walls were screens showing maps of space. Red dots marked where the fighting was happening. Each red dot was a world where people were dying. The other military leaders were already waiting. General Amy Rodriguez sat at one end of the table. She was in charge of the Space Marines. Her face was hard and angry. She had seen the videos from the Zephyrian worlds. Admiral Ben Hughes was looking at reports on his tablet. He commanded all the human ships in space. His job was to move fleets from place to place and keep them supplied. Director Carl Watson sat quietly in the corner. He ran the intelligence service. His people found out secrets and watched enemies. He knew things that others did not. Secretary of Defense Helen Torres was the last to arrive. She spoke for all the military branches to the government. She would have to explain to the president why humans should go to war. "Thank you all for coming so quickly," Admiral Carter said. "You have all seen Captain Morrison's report? The situation is bad and getting worse." He pressed a button, and the main screen showed a map of Zephyrian space. Most of it was now colored red. 47 worlds are gone," he continued. "Intelligence estimates 12 billion Zephyrian dead, so the killing is not stopping." Director Watson stood up. He was a thin man with gray hair. "The Carthax Empire is bigger than we thought. Our spies report over 300 billion people. Under their control, they have been conquering worlds for 500 years. General Rodriguez hit the table with her fist. "How did we not know about this?" "They stayed far from human space," Watson replied. "We knew they existed but thought they were just another empire. We were wrong. They are killers who destroy everything they touch." Admiral Hughes looked up from his tablet. "What kind of military do they have?" Watson pressed another button. The screen showed pictures of Carthax ships. They were big and dark with sharp edges. Red lights glowed along their sides. "Over 8,000 warships," Watson said. "Most are bigger than our largest ships. Their weapons are powerful. They use plasma cannons that can crack planets. They have torpedoes that bend space and time." The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. How could humans fight an enemy so much bigger and stronger? "What about their tactics?" General Rodriguez asked. "Simple but effective," Watson answered. "They attack with overwhelming force. No tricks, no clever plans, just massive firepower applied to one target until it is destroyed. Then they move to the next target." Secretary Torres leaned forward. "What are our assets?" Admiral Hughes read from his tablet. 847 active warships, 2.3 million Marines, various support vessels, and defensive stations. We also have the special projects. They were weapons and technologies that were kept secret. Some were experiments. Others were too dangerous to use except in desperate times. "Numbers do not tell the whole story," Admiral Carter said. "Director Watson, what advantages do we have?" Watson smiled for the first time that day. "The Carthax have never fought humans before. They do not understand how we think or how we fight." He walked to the front of the room. "Every species they have conquered fights the same way. Big fleets in straight lines. Honor battles, where both sides face each other. Rules about what weapons can be used. And humans, Torres asked. Humans wrote the book on dirty fighting, Watson replied. We use tricks. We attack from behind. Make enemies fight each other. We use weapons that other species think are wrong or evil. General Rodriguez nodded. Oh. My Marines train for every type of combat. Ship boarding, planet invasion, space station assault. We adapt to any situation, Admiral Hughes added. Our ships are designed for flexibility. We can change tactics during battle. We can split up and come back together. We can run away and attack from a different direction. Watson continued, the Carthax think war is about honor and strength. Humans know war is about winning. We will do whatever it takes to protect our friends. Admiral Carter looked around the table. The president wants to know if we can win. In a straight fight, Hughes said honestly, they have too many ships and too many soldiers. But we are not going to fight straight, Rodriguez added. We're going to fight smart. Watson pulled up more pictures on the screen. These showed human weapons and ships. We have nanite swarm weapons that can eat enemy ships from the inside. We have stealth technology that makes our ships invisible. We have psychological warfare programs designed to make enemies afraid. The Carthax have never faced fear, he continued. They have always been the strongest. What happens when they meet someone stronger? Torres was taking notes. You recommend? Admiral Carter stood up. Full mobilization. Every ship, every Marine, every weapon we have. Operation Steel Thunder. Cost will be enormous, Torres said. The cost of doing nothing will be worse, Carter replied. The Carthax destroy the Zephyrians. Who is next? How long before they decide humans are a threat? General Rodriguez spoke up. The Zephyrians helped us when we needed food during the Titan colony famine. They shared their medical knowledge when the plague hit Mars. They have been good friends. Friends help friends, Admiral Hughes said. That is what makes us human, Watson added. This is also about sending a message to the galaxy. Humans protect their allies. Anyone who hurts our friends will pay the price. Admiral Carter looked at each person around the table. Are we all agreed? One by one, they nodded. The decision was made. Humanity would go to war. I will speak to President Clark tonight, Torres said, but I think she will approve. She was the one who signed the friendship treaty with the Zephyrians. As the meeting ended, Admiral Carter gave final orders. Begin. Mobilization immediately. Recall all ships to staging areas. Put all Marines on alert. Activate the special projects. What about the enemy? Hughes asked. Watson smiled grimly. Let them enjoy their victories while they can. They have never fought humans before. They are about to learn why that matters. The meeting ended, and everyone left to prepare for war. Earth's greatest military machine was waking up. When it was fully awake, the Carthax would understand their mistake. Captain Danny White stood on the observation deck of Luna's shipyards. Below him, the biggest space station humans had ever built stretched as far as he could see. Thousands of workers moved like ants across the metal surface. Ships were being built, repaired, and loaded with weapons. But today was different. Today, every ship was being prepared for war. Captain White, report to Bay 7, came the voice over the speakers. Danny walked through the corridors of the station. Everyone was moving fast. Workers carried weapons and supplies. Engineers ran between ships with tools and parts. The air buzzed with energy and fear. Bay 7 held the newest battleship in the human fleet. The Resolute was 500 meters, long and covered in armor. Its weapons could destroy a small moon. Danny was going to be its captain. Engineer Maria Santos was waiting for him. She was covered in grease and looked tired. She had been working for 3 days straight. How is she looking? Danny asked. Ready for war? Maria replied. We installed the new quantum torpedoes this morning. Each one can punch through a kilometer of solid steel. Danny walked around his new ship. The Resolute was beautiful and deadly. Its hull was dark gray with no markings. Enemy ships would not see it coming until it was too late. What about the shields? He asked. Adaptive technology, Maria said proudly. They change based on what type of weapon hits them. Energy weapons make them stronger against energy. Kinetic weapons make them stronger against missiles. Across the shipyard, other captains were checking their ships. The human fleet was getting ready to show the galaxy what they could do. Admiral Catherine Bell walked onto the bridge of the Titan's Wrath. This ship was the largest in the human fleet. It was 1 kilometer long and carried enough weapons to level a continent. When enemies saw it, they knew humans meant business. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems operational," her first officer replied. "Weapons loaded, shields at full power, crew ready for combat." Bell looked out the window. She could see hundreds of other ships gathering around Luna. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and support vessels. Each one was filled with humans ready to fight for their friends. Colonel Ryan Mitchell was training his Marines in the combat simulators. The 7th Space Marine Division was the best fighting force humanity had ever created. It could fight in space, on planets, or inside enemy ships. "Move, move," Mitchell shouted as his soldiers ran through the training course. They wore powered armor that made them stronger and faster. Their weapons could change from energy beams to explosive bullets depending on what they were fighting. The simulation showed them fighting inside a Carthax ship. The enemy soldiers were big and strong, but the Marines were smarter. They used teamwork and tactics to win every battle. Remember, Mitchell told his troops, "The enemy thinks size and strength are everything. We know that speed and brains are. Better use that against them." In the weapons laboratory, Dr. Paul Harrison was checking the special weapons. These were the tools humanity hoped they would never need to use, but now that time had come. "Are the nanite swarms ready?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, sir." Each swarm contains 1 billion microscopic robots. They can take apart an enemy ship, atom by atom. Harrison nodded. He did not like these weapons. They were too powerful, too dangerous. But the Carthax had forced humanity to bring out their worst tools. What about the gravity generators? Tested and ready. They can create a gravity well strong enough to trap an entire fleet. Nothing can escape once they are activated. Harrison walked to another section of the lab. Here were the psychological warfare tools. Humans had learned that winning a battle in the enemy's mind was just as important as winning it with weapons. "The fear broadcasts are ready," another scientist reported. "They send signals that make enemy brains panic. Most species cannot resist them. And the confusion algorithms? They hack enemy communication systems and send false orders. The enemy fleet will start fighting itself." Rassen felt sick. These weapons were designed to attack the mind, not the body. But they worked, and that was what mattered now. Across the solar system, human colonies were sending their best people. To join the fleet, from Mars came the toughest miners. From Jupiter came the best pilots. From the outer planets came the most experienced fighters. Everyone wanted to help. The Zephyrians had been good friends to humanity. And friends protected friends. Commander Tony Garcia was aboard the Shadow Strike, a ship designed to be invisible. His job was to sneak into enemy territory and gather information. His ship was painted black and covered with technology that bent light around it. Latest reports from Zephyrian space, his intelligence officer said, 6 more worlds have fallen. But something strange is happening. "What do you mean?" Garcia asked. "Some Carthax forces are pulling back. They are moving ships away from the front lines and gathering them in defensive positions." Garcia studied the reports. The enemy was changing their tactics. "They know we are coming. How is that possible?" "The Carthax have spies too," Garcia replied. "Word is spreading through the galaxy that humans are mobilizing for war. They are scared, and they should be scared." The human fleet was almost ready. 800 ships carrying the best weapons and the most dangerous soldiers humanity had ever created. When they arrived in Carthax space, the enemy would learn what happened when someone hurt humanity's friends. Admiral Bell sent a message to all ship captains. "Final preparations begin now. Check your weapons. Check your crews. Check your resolve. We are about to show the galaxy what humans can do when pushed to war." Captain White read the message aboard the Resolute. His crew was ready, His ship was ready. His weapons were loaded, and his engines were warm. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving reports from all over human space. Volunteers are still coming. They want to fight for the Zephyrians." White smiled. That was what made humans special. They did not fight just for themselves. They fought for their friends, for what was right, for people who could not fight for themselves. "Send a message to all ships," White ordered. "Tell them we launch. In 12 hours? Tell them we are going to bring our friends home." The greatest military force in human history was almost ready to depart, and when it arrived, the Carthax would understand their terrible mistake. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Carthax territory. 800 ships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons ready and their crews prepared for battle. Admiral Catherine Bell stood on the bridge of the Titans. Rathan looked at the enemy fleet waiting for them. 200 Carthax ships hung in space like dark clouds. They were arranged in straight lines, just as Director Watson had predicted. Each ship was bigger than most human vessels, covered in red lights and bristling with weapons. "Enemy fleet is hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Them through," Bell ordered. The main screen showed a Carthax commander. He was tall and covered in dark scales. His eyes glowed red and his mouth was full of sharp teeth. This was War Master Grixtel, one of the most feared commanders in the Carthax Empire. Human Fleet Grixtel spoke in a voice like grinding metal. "You are in Carthax space. You will surrender your ships and prepare to be boarded." Admiral Bell stepped forward. She was much smaller than the alien commander, but her voice was steady and strong. "War Master Grixtel, you have committed genocide against our allies. Surrender now and face trial or be destroyed." Grixtel laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You bring 800 small ships against the might of the Carthax Empire? You are either very brave or very stupid." "We are human," Bell replied. "That should be enough." The alien commander's laugh died. He had heard stories about humans, but he thought they were just stories. "You have 1 minute to surrender." "Counteroffer," Bell said. "You have 30 seconds to run away." The screen went black as Grixtel cut the connection. All across the Carthax fleet, weapons began to charge. Energy built up in their plasma cannons. Their void torpedoes loaded into launch tubes. "All ships prepare for combat," Bell ordered. "Execute Plan Delta 7. The human fleet suddenly scattered in all directions. Ships that had been in neat formations spread out like water. The Carthax had never seen anything like it. They were used to enemies who fought in straight lines. Ship against ship, Captain Jennifer Murphy commanded the destroyer Lightning Strike. Her ship was fast and deadly, built for hit-and-run attacks. She dove toward the enemy fleet as plasma beams lanced out toward her, but the lightning strike was not where the beams were aimed. Murphy's ship twisted and turned, using thrust vectoring that Carthax ships could not match. Enemy weapons fired at where she had been, not where she was. "Target their command ship," Murphy ordered. Full spread of quantum torpedoes, the Lightning. Strike's weapons fired. 6 torpedoes raced toward the enemy flagship. Weaving between defensive fire like angry wasps, War Master Grixtel watched the human ship dance between his weapons. His gunners could not hit it. The small vessel moved like a living thing, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. "Impossible," he growled. "No ship can move like that." Then the torpedoes hit. The flagship's shields flared and died. Explosions ripped through the ship's hull. Half the bridge crew was killed in seconds. "Damage report," Grixtel shouted. "Shields down to 30%, his engineer reported. "Main weapons offline. Hull breach on 12 decks." This was not how battles were supposed to go. The Carthax always won by using bigger guns and more ships. But the humans were not fighting that way. Lieutenant Commander Steve Johnson commanded the stealth frigate, Ghost Rider. His ship was invisible to enemy sensors, painted black and covered with technology that bent light around it. He had been waiting for this moment. The Ghost Rider appeared directly behind the Carthax flagship, like a ghost becoming solid. Johnson's crew had prepared for this attack for weeks. "Fire everything," Johnson ordered. "Quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and kinetic missiles all fired at once. The Carthax flagship was hit from behind with enough firepower to destroy a small city. The ship broke in half and exploded in a ball of fire. Warmaster Grixdel died, never understanding how the humans had appeared behind him. Across the battlefield, human ships were using tactics the Carthax had never seen. Captain Danny White in the Resolute worked with 3 other ships to surround a Carthax cruiser. They attacked from all sides at once, overwhelming the enemy's defenses. Major Kelly Anderson led Marine boarding teams in assault pods. These small, armored ships punched through enemy hulls like bullets through paper. Anderson's Marines poured into Carthax vessels, fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors. The Carthax were bigger and stronger, but the humans were faster and smarter. They used teamwork and tactics that the enemy could not counter. Within an hour, 3 Carthax ships had been captured. "This is impossible," one Carthax captain transmitted to his fleet. "They fight like demons. They appear from nowhere and attack from all sides." Commander Sam Turner was listening to enemy communications from his intelligence ship. He smiled as he heard the fear in the alien voices. Psychological warfare was working even better than expected. Admiral Turner reported to Bell, "Enemy. Morale is breaking. They are calling for reinforcements." "Good," Bell replied. "Let them call. We want the whole galaxy to know what happens when someone hurts our friends." The battle continued for 3 more hours. The Carthax fought bravely, but they were not prepared for human tactics. They tried to use overwhelming firepower against enemies who would not stay still to be shot. Human ships worked together like a pack of wolves. They surrounded individual enemy vessels and destroyed them one by one. When the Carthax tried to group together for defense, human stealth ships appeared in their midst and caused chaos. "Captain." White's quantum torpedoes punched through enemy armor like it was paper. Major Anderson's Marines captured ship after ship. The Ghost Rider and other stealth vessels struck from the shadows by the end of the battle. 150 Carthax ships were destroyed or captured. The remaining 50 ships tried to retreat, but human pursuit vessels hunted them down. Only 12 enemy ships escaped to bring word back to the Carthax Empire. They carried a message that would spread fear throughout enemy space. The humans were coming, and they were unlike any enemy the Carthax had ever faced. Admiral Bell stood on her bridge looking at the wreckage of the enemy fleet. Her own losses were light, only 8 ships damaged, none destroyed. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them the first battle is won. Tell them we are advancing to the next system." "What about the surviving enemy ships? Or first?" Officer asked. "Let them run," Bell replied. "I want them to tell their leaders what they saw here. I want every Carthax commander to know that humans protect their friends." As the human fleet prepared to move deeper into enemy territory, Commander Turner intercepted more enemy communications. The Carthax Empire was in panic. They were recalling ships from 6 different sectors to defend their home worlds. For the first time in their history, the Carthax were afraid. They had learned that humans did not fight like other species. Humans fought to win, and they would do whatever it took to protect their allies. The real war was just beginning. The human fleet arrived at Carthax Prime, the homeworld of the enemy empire. Admiral Catherine Bell stood on the bridge of the Titan's Wrath and looked at what waited for them. Over 2,000 enemy ships formed layers of defense around their planet. It was the largest fleet the Carthax had ever assembled. At the center of the defensive formation hung a massive space station called Death's Crown. It was 10 kilometers wide and covered with the biggest weapons the Carthax had ever built. Emperor Thraxon himself commanded from this fortress. Confident that no force in the galaxy could break through his defenses, "Analysis complete," reported the tactical officer. "Enemy fleet outnumbers us 3-1. The orbital fortress has enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet." Admiral Bell studied the enemy formation. The Carthax had learned nothing from their previous defeats. They still believed that bigger weapons and more ships would win the battle. All ship captains. "This is Admiral Bell," she transmitted to the human fleet. "Execute Operation Thunderstrike. Show them what humans do when our friends are threatened." The human fleet split into 7 groups, each moving in a different direction. The Carthax commanders watched in confusion as their enemies scattered. Across space, instead of attacking directly, Captain Greg Foster led the stealth division. His ships were invisible to enemy sensors, painted black and equipped with cloaking technology. They slipped through the outer defenses like ghosts, heading for the orbital defense platforms. Target the power generators, Foster ordered. Take out their ability to shoot back. The stealth ships appeared suddenly next to the defense platforms. Quantum torpedoes fired at point-blank range, destroying power cores and weapon systems. The platforms exploded one by one, their debris raining down on the planet below. Commander Beth Wright commanded the Electronic Warfare Division. Her ships carried no heavy weapons, but they had something more dangerous: the ability to hack enemy computer systems. Begin signal jamming, Wright ordered. Cut their communications. Invisible electronic beams reached out from the human ships. Carthax communication systems began to fail. Ship captains could not talk to each other. The orbital fortress lost contact with its outer defenses. The enemy fleet became deaf and blind. Emperor Thraxon watched from his throne room as his perfect defenses fell apart. What is happening? Why can't I contact my ships? His communications officer worked frantically at his controls. The humans are jamming everything, my lord. Our signals cannot get through. Then send runners in small ships, the Emperor snarled. Get my orders to the fleet commanders. But it was too late. The human attack was already in full swing. Colonel Patricia Lee led the Marine boarding teams. Her assault pods punched through the armor of the orbital defense platforms like bullets through cloth. Marines in powered armor poured into the enemy stations, fighting hand-to-hand in the corridors. The Carthax defenders were bigger and stronger, but the human Marines were faster and smarter. They used teamwork and advanced weapons to capture station after station. Within 2 hours, Patricia's forces had turned the enemy's own weapons against them. Defense platforms secured, she reported to Admiral Bell. Their guns are now under our control. Actor Paul Harrison's secret weapons deployed during the climax of the battle. From hidden compartments in human ships, clouds of nanite swarms launched toward the enemy fleet. Each swarm contained billions of microscopic robots programmed to disassemble enemy vessels. The Carthax watched in horror as their ships began to fall apart. Metal hulls dissolved like sugar in water. Weapons systems crumbled to dust. Entire vessels simply disappeared as the nanites consumed them atom by atom. What kind of devils are these humans? One Carthax captain screamed before his ship was completely eaten by the tiny machines. Gravity well generators activated across the battlefield. These devices created artificial gravity fields strong enough to trap entire squadrons of ships. Carthax vessels found themselves pulled toward points in space where they could not escape. The enemy fleet was trapped, blinded, and being destroyed by weapons they could not understand. Their neat formations collapsed into chaos as panic spread. Through their ranks, Emperor Thraxon realized his empire was losing. In desperation, he activated his most terrible weapon, a planet killer aimed at the refugee fleet carrying millions of Zephyrian civilians. If I cannot win, he snarled, then I will make the humans pay the ultimate price. The massive weapon began to charge. Energy built up in its core, enough to destroy every living thing in the refugee fleet. Captain Alex Turner saw what was happening from the bridge of his ship, Sword of Terra. He was a young officer who had joined the fleet too. Protect innocent people. Now those people were about to die unless someone stopped the weapon. All ships, this is Turner, he transmitted. I'm going in. Negative, Captain, Admiral Bell replied. That's a suicide mission. The Zephyrians are counting on us, Turner said. We don't abandon friends. The Sword of Terra accelerated toward the planet killer weapon. Enemy fire rained down on the small ship, but Turner kept flying. Shields failed and his hull began to crack, but he did not stop. For the Zephyrians, Turner whispered as his ship crashed into the weapons core. The explosion lit up the entire star system. The planet killer weapon was destroyed, along with half of the Death's Crown station. Captain Turner and his crew died heroes, saving millions of innocent lives. The destruction of their ultimate weapon broke the spirit of the Carthax Empire. Ships began to surrender across the battlefield. Emperor Thraxon was captured when Marines stormed what remained of his fortress. Admiral Bell accepted the enemy's surrender from the Bridge of the Titan's Wrath. "You will withdraw from all Zephyrian territory immediately," she told the defeated Carthax commanders. "Your military leaders will face trial for war crimes. Your empire will pay to rebuild what you destroyed. And if we refuse," asked one Carthax admiral, Bell gestured toward the wreckage of their fleet. "Look around you. This is what happens when you threaten our friends. Refuse our terms, and we will dismantle your entire civilization, ship by ship, planet by planet." Carthax agreed to every human demand. 3 days later, Ambassador Kira Veltar stood in the rebuilt Zephyrian council chambers. The war was over, and her people were free. She sent a message to the Galactic Council that would be remembered for generations. "We asked our human friends for help when we faced extinction," she said. "They brought not just their fleet, but their courage, their determination, and their fury. Let every species in the galaxy know humanity protects its allies with everything they possess." The Zephyrian colonies were liberated. The Carthax Empire was broken and humbled. Humanity's reputation as the galaxy's most formidable military force was established forever. But Admiral Bell's final log entry captured the true cost of victory. "We showed the galaxy what humans can do when pushed to war." Captain Turner and his crew died to save innocent lives. Their sacrifice reminds us that our strength comes not from our weapons, but from our willingness to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The war was won, but the price of peace was always paid in blood. Humanity had proven they would pay that price to defend their friends.